him.
Okay, welcome to another episode of Pound for Pound Boxing Report, episode 151. I'm your host, Michael. Joining me this week, joining us live from the UK, EJ Boxing Live. Also, Scorsese of YTBC fame, as well as Jacob Rivera from Jab Hook Boxing and Daniel Carpio from the Inscriber. Let's get the show. For those who are new to the Pound for Pound Boxing Report, Pound for Pound Boxing Report is a live YouTube show, as well as podcast and blog discussing all things boxing. The motto is when boxing is good, we will talk about it. When boxing is bad, we will talk about it. Bottom line is, if it concerns boxing, we will talk about it. To find more all information regarding Pound for Pound Boxing Report, just please check out the blog page, p4pboxingreport.wordpress.com with the link. You check the right of the blog page, you'll find links to where to find our pages on Facebook, G+, YouTube, Tumblr, as well as links to where to listen to us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Player.fm, as well as Stitcher. Let's get the show started tonight, fellas. Uh,
Hey,
Recapping
Mike,
what?
Mike, send a live link so I can tweet it out.
Okay, I'll do that. Give me a quick second. Doing a recap of what went down last week. Headline, of course, is what went down in Inglewood last Saturday night. Bernard Hopkins in what is supposed to be his final fight of his career against Joe Smith, uh, didn't turn out as planned. As Hopkins, he not only lost, he got knocked out. Hopkins didn't only get knocked out, he got knocked clean, slam, clear through the ropes in the process of getting knocked out. Um, Eighth round, he was stopped. Uh, I'll go to you, Scorsese. We'll talk about the ending in a bit, but since you were the one last week, you were the one screaming. You was hoping that Hopkins would get stopped. He would get KO for your reasons, your own personal reasons and whatnot. I'm gonna open it up to you and give you a time to burn a bit here. Uh, you wanted Hopkins knocked out. He got knocked out. Go. Open up your mic, Scorsese.
Yo, after all this illustrious career, man, it comes to this. I know other people gonna talk about the beauty of a 51-year-old fighter. Now, look, the man had no business in the ring for years ago. Now I'm gonna say Kubrat Pulev. I can't even remember those guys' name right now. He took the title out, Shumanov, and I can't even remember the other guy's name right now. Kato Marat. Yeah, look, those people were giving him good fights. And then you think you're gonna step up and talk crap about Adonis Stevenson or go over there and fight Kovalev and do it successfully? No, sir. No, sir. At some point, challenging yourself, it ain't no such thing as respect for you just being easy fights for people that should be fighting better opposition, maybe, and not wasting our time as much. To people like Pascal, this is what you do when you have a 50-year-old or four. You don't look at him and get mesmerized by what's going on. You go break his damn hip, make him sprain his ankle, even though he hit his head. How the hell do you do that, B-Hop? Can somebody please tell me? How the hell you hit the back of your head, go to sleep, and wake up and reach for your ankle? I am so proud of Bernard Hopkins. Early Christmas present like never before. This man basically set my tree for me. He put all the decorations on it, put the presents under there, and wrote, "Not from Santa, from B Hop." And he left. He didn't even eat the cookies. He left me to eat them in the morning. He is such a great person for that. I had so much fun. I laughed so damn hard. But I had to come back to reality and remember that it's a curse going on out here. And I had to remember that's a 51-year-old man. And that curse has done this. A man took his daughter to a fight, John Pascal, and he's cursed as well. Superman Stevenson cursed. Look it up. He's cursed as well. And this man's daughter had to see her dad get beat the hell out of. So this curse escalated by double this past weekend. It let her daughter see her dad get beat the hell up again. But on top of that, this man's 51-year-old, and it said, "How about I just slip you out the damn ropes and make you hit your head right by the photographer?" By the way, the photographer basically just swung his camera right on Beehive. So add insult to injury. It was probably a perfect picture that should have been taken. That I don't know if it was taken, but I haven't found it yet. But I am looking for it. That shot of his feet up in the damn air as Joe Smith raising his hands. I didn't have to second guess this curse. I knew what was gonna happen. I knew he was doomed. I knew it. So it's funny that they showed the montage of Mr. B Hop and all his great performances and all his so-called great wins when he beat big blew up welterweights. I know they had fights at middleweight before, but still they welterweights. And he's came at other fighters for so-called fighting easy opponents in their division. So instead of showing all the times where he weaseled his way out of fights, HBO wanted to show the good moments, but the curse brought us back to reality. His ugliest nights are the memories that I have of him. The ugly nights. You can get the 20 defenses, but you won't get the 20 defenses if you fight fairly and things don't go in your favor. You know, you won't get to rob Dawson of his shot to be the champion because you want to get through off his back. So this curse brought us to what he is. He's an antic waiting to happen. His last night, it didn't end glory, in no glory. It ended in what was truly him. Some antics, and he still didn't get that man credit. But Joe Smith Jr. Um, he might be the dark destroyer like Kovalev was carrying out the curse now, but he's not being looked at for a Stevenson fight because Stevenson has a mandatory in April. I think this is just perfect the way it is played out. I am like 0 and 6 when talking about this curse now. No, excuse me. Those fighters that I talked about, they like 0 and 6 from this curse. I'll name them and then I'll stop talking. B Hop loses to Kovalev when Kovalev was the dark destroyer for the curse. Pascal loses to Kovalev. Pascal loses to Kovalev again from Farah, who didn't want to take a good payday to fight the lineal champion because he wanted more when he didn't deserve it. He should have been a challenger and went to go get it from the lineal champion who he already had a shot against. He got knocked out by the new dog destroyer of the curse. Well, he's already been a dog destroyer. This is second time being it, right? Then you get Kovalev losing his title. That's 5. Now you got B Hop finally knocked out again and gone from the sport of boxing. The Superman Stevenson curse is in full effect, no matter what Daniel Carpio chooses to tell you next.
Did he just drop the mic?
You can't. You can drop the mic on what is called the range fan.
Not a
This,
fan.
not that is the range fan. No, nobody creates a curse unlike that unless you're a deranged fan. I understand it, Scorsese. You like Adonis Stevenson. I understand it. You just don't want to admit that he's too pussy to fight Kovalev. And I said it, pussy. Pussy.
Daniel, we'll see. Down at the WBC has gifted Kovalev the WBC #1 contendership again.
They did not give there. He's number 2.
No,
Why
no,
you
no,
keep
no,
trying
no,
to
no.
put
He's
things
the
when he's not number 1? If he's
He's
not
the
no, if he's
number
number one, if he's number 1, then Butte Alvarez fight means shit.
Well, they got a mandatory before that, but he's right after, and we'll see if Kovalev finally going to turn down the fight for a third
No,
time, and you recognize what's
what you're
going
gonna
on.
see is Adonis Stevenson probably say, "Oh, actually, you fight Kovalev?
Hey,
Oh, I'm
if
gonna
he
do
does,
what Mayweather did when the
if he
WBC made
does,
Pacquiao the mandatory for
Daniel,
the WBC. I'm gonna
Da-
drop the belt and continue doing what I'm doing."
Daniel, if he does, I promise you'll hear me telling the truth. You'll hear me telling it. I'm not a fan of him. I'm a fan of exposing nonsense in boxing and seeing the best fight the best. That's all. But I wonder
No,
who created
they
the
don't
curse
create
of
a
the
curse. They
Bambino.
don't create a curse. You can be
It's
mad
not
at
me
me.
creating. It's happening before your eyes. They
No,
are
you're
0 and
creating
6.
a curse. You're creating
Okay,
a
they 0 and
curse.
6. They 0 and 6. It's
No,
just me telling you what's going
you're
on.
creating. No, you created a curse. Only fans
They're 0 and
create
6. They're 0 and
curses.
6, Daniel. Daniel, they're 0 and 6 though, bro. They're 0 and 6.
And
I ain't create
really?
nothing. I'm
Okay.
just
Oh
telling
no.
you.
Do you want to talk
I
about
need
this
to
curse?
contact Yvonne Michelle. I should contact the promoter Yvonne Michelle. I should contact Showtime and try to get footage and try to make a just a beautiful documentary about this curse because one day you're not gonna be able to deny it. One day you're
Oh,
gonna look at
actually, a footage, Jacob. Didn't you have footage of Stevenson literally saying he would fight Kovalev?
I'm not gonna
Yes.
hijack the show. I'm not
Well,
gonna
well,
Yes.
hijack the show.
wait a minute, fellas. Y'all could go back and forth all night. Let's bring others into this discussion. EJ, Jacob, your assessment of what went down. Unmute your mic, fellas.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Go ahead, EJ.
Oh, nice one, Daniel. Nice one, Jacob, man. Appreciate it, man. Thanks, yeah. Listen, man. Listen. Like, I ain't a conspiracy theorist guy, but bro, like, this was hilarious. I don't know if Golden Boy's got problems. Like, just stay with me for a minute. Stay with me. Like, you probably think I'm off the whack, but like, I don't know if Golden Boy's got problems. They've been showing their shows on YouTube, live streaming, and like, they haven't got no bigger name other than Canelo. So like, what De La Hoya said, look, bro, I ain't coming out of retirement. Someone's got to come out of retirement. We need a big end of 2016. Yo, be up, man. Come on now. Like, you know what I mean? Take one for the team. It's like, all right, man, no problem. All right. But you know what? This is what they agreed on. Look, man, you have to dive through the rope for that guy, man. Make sure you dive out the rope on that side, like on that side of the ring. He's done it before against Rob Allen. And like, he's the only one who's ever been in a situation where he falls out the rope. Like, and let's talk about, is it a knockout or was he knocked down? I feel like he got knocked through the rope. Like, and that's Scorsese put it out. We're always anchor. Okay, he's 50-something years of age, but everyone's talking about he's in tremendous shape for his age. Okay, you're in tremendous shape. You could have got yourself back in the ring and continue to fight, man. Like, that was crazy. And if you look at it slow mo, some guy saw him dropping. He just moved out the way. He's like, nah, bomb that. I'm not getting hit by him. I was like, wow. I see the guy in slow mo was moving out the way. It just looked like some WWE thing, man. It was just like, he looked so out of it, man. Like, people talking about boxing inactivity. Like, Klitschko's gonna get the same work. Don't get it twisted, bro. You can't be at the top of your game and after. Obviously people slide. Oh man. If he left the Kovalev, if he left how he left in the Kovalev, not being knocked out, that would have been great. But I think De La Hoya, I don't know. I'm not saying he had money problems or whatever, but he took one for the team, and the way he went out. To me, it just looked fake, man. It just looked funny. It was like, it was just on the rope, and like, you're 6 foot something, but yet you can bend down to get hit through the second rope. I mean, come on, man. Like, it was just bad. And the thing is, I can see it's like I said, I mentioned in wrestling. What they do in wrestling when they wanna showcase one up and coming fighters, they always have a young guy be an old guy. That's what it seemed like. It looked like he's trying to put that kid on the map. And look, they're already talking about him against another guy in another venue to get money. And I think Golden Boy is gonna be a part of that. So I think that's what it was, man. That's all I think it was. Hopkins sold out his career, man. You know what I'm saying? It was just eerie coming out as the executioner. It just looked like some WWE showcase thing. It was just strange. But you know what? I said to myself, Hopkins and boxing and stuff like that. I can't tell the difference between WWE now and boxing. It's like, you told me, man. Like, it's like real art imitates. Is it art imitates thing? Anyway, it just
life.
There you go. That's the catchphrase you Americans use. Art imitate life. That's what it was to me, and it just looked disingenuous. I feel like he could have got back in the ring and continued. I would have gave him more credit. But there was nothing wrong with your leg, man. There was nothing wrong with your leg. You did the same thing with Rob Allen, acting like your shoulder. You did the same thing with Chad Dawson. They're saying like my shoulder was hurt. That's bullshit, man. But then after they asked him, do you want to continue? No, that's it. No, that's it. Because you didn't want to get in the ring in the first place, right? You didn't want to get ring in the first place. And then so I just like, is it a black eye on boxing? No. Does Hopkins deserve to go? Like, a lot of people were upset, man. I ain't gonna lie. A lot of people was upset, but I wasn't, because boxing is a young man's sport. If you get in there when you're old, it happens to Archie Moore, Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard. Keep down the list. That's what happens when you get in the ring when you're not supposed to. If Floyd Mayweather gets back in the ring, there's a possibility that could happen, and that's why he shouldn't even think about getting in the ring. If the haters want to hate, continue hate. But not Hopkins. Hey, I salute to you and the stuff you've done in your career, but man, come on, man, you didn't have to go out like that. Like, it's like Michael Jordan in the Utah game against Carmelo. You remember that jumper he dropped? But even though he did all right in the Wizards, like, you still kind of remember him, like, Jordan doing that last thing. Sometimes it's best to leave things alone. So I salute Hopkins and everything he's done, but he didn't have to go out like that. And like I said to you, man, I feel like it was a kind of a WWE setup, and he wasn't knocked out. By the way, he was just knocked down through the ropes. So it's a difference. He knocked out cold or whatever. He was just knocked through the ropes. So that's my opinion. Go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah, well, you technically right, but I still feel he was hurt. Let's be clear on that. The left hook, right hand, as he was falling to the ropes, you can see his body start to cave in. He didn't go down just because he did get hit. It was
disagree on that, man. We have to disagree on that, man. Like, if you're hurt, like, you know what I mean, he wasn't, man. He wasn't. He had the sense of mind to get straight back up, and then he started like his leg was hurting him, man. You know what I mean? I see wrestlers, yeah, they can roll in the rink for the. If you watch wrestling, they can roll in the bottom of the rope. You know what I'm saying? Like you could roll back in, man. Like I've seen wrestlers fall like higher jumps than that and still continue wrestling. Like even if you say he's 50 still, he says he's in tremendous shape. Where did his ankle actually hurt? I don't understand. Like where did the joint actually hurt? If you fall on your back, listen. If you feel like okay, you know that's what I say. We have to agree to disagree on that one. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I just say that because when they interviewed him after the ring,
Yeah, I'm
um,
full of shit,
in
man.
the
He's
locker
full of shit.
room, and he was
Mm-hmm.
saying specifically where it hurt. But it is what it is.
He's full
End
of
of the
shit. He always
day,
does that.
end of the day for me, I don't know about the conspiracy part. I don't know. I have to hear more about that. But at the end of the day, it's a sad ending. That I will agree with you on. Sad ending to in spite of what Scorsese says, I think he has had a great career. You can't discount what he's done, what he's meant for the sport, both in and out of the ring, and that alone should be applauded. I'll go to you, Jacob. Your thoughts?
Yeah, yeah, I was there. I'm not gonna sign up for the conspiracy that it was a setup because the manner in which he fell. You can compare it to wrestling, but he's not a professional wrestler, and we all know professional wrestling is done in a kind of a fake dramatic. I'm not saying that they're not athletes and they don't do crazy shit, but it's not the same as a professional sport. But with this whole fight, Hopkins, I think was hurt.
And let me stop you right there, Jacob. I'm sorry. You was asking why the reporters didn't help him up. EJ, I believe it's a rule now that if a reporter or someone like that tries to help him in the
Disqualified.
ring, he can risk disqualification. So I think.
No, I was talking about the guy was falling down. Like you
Oh,
could catch
why they
him.
didn't catch him as he was falling down?
No,
Okay.
not help back in. He could have got. I'm talking about when the guy turned his back and said, "Nah." He just
Oh,
saw Hopkins falling.
I apologize for
Yeah,
my
that's all right.
confusion on that.
That's all right. That's all right.
Go proceed, Jacob.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mike. I think he was hurt. If you look at the replays, he got hit with some flush punches. And what I've seen when people have their back against the ropes and they're about to fall out, they do that kind of thing where they try to brace themselves or grab something, to try to make sure they don't fall out. I think what happened that night was an accumulation of shots landed, and I do think he was hurt. And then that one, final shot that eventually, because he was not falling down, but he was kind of trying to dodge punches, hit square, and it basically the momentum pushed him out of the fight, or out of the ring. Again, it was a crazy thing to see. I was a little worried that they were gonna call it like something weird, not give Joe Smith the win, or if they called it as it was a push, as he was claiming, which it obviously wasn't, but something to that effect. But I'm glad that Joe Smith got the much deserved win because he did the work to get the win. He legitimately knocked him out of the ring and won the fight. I have to give Hopkins credit, though. He took this was a dangerous fight. Not a lot of people know who Joe Smith was, myself included, before Fonfara. But he's a young kid. He's strong. He looked huge in there against Hopkins. And, we can say all we want about Hopkins. He shouldn't be in the ring and he's old and, blah, blah, blah. But, he took a chance. He was coming off a loss to Kovalev, but Kovalev is one of the best light heavyweight fighters in the world and a pound per pound top 10, in my opinion. And, like we say before, it's hard for these boxers to walk away. I don't think this is the last time we'll see Hopkins, but I'm sure we're going to talk about that later.
And let's start on that right now. I'll just ask around the hangout around the panel here, starting with Daniel. The future. Hopkins said after the fight in the locker room with HBO interview with Max Kellerman that this is it. But a lot of people feel that Hopkins, after he thinks about it, he's going to have he's going to rethink that opinion, changing of the mind. and essentially saying that he's not going to go out like this. So, A, do you think that Hopkins is really finished? And B, let's assume he is done, not coming back in the ring. Where does Joe Smith go from here? For me, um, he got the win over Hopkins, but let's keep in mind Hopkins is 51 years old, and he looked it a bit, even though he did some good things in there. And the Fonfara fight, it could be a lot of it could very well be a case that he caught Fonfara cold. So we do not know how good he is. They're talking about this local fight coming up for him next. But let's look at the larger landscape of the light heavyweight division. Um, where do you see Joe Smith fitting in that? So, question A, is Hopkins really quote unquote retired? And B, if he is, where do you see Joe Smith going from here? Starting with Daniel and then EJ, and everybody else can follow up.
Yeah, Hopkins is done. Like it can already tell when even Kellerman he was trying to position the question exactly the way it was. He was legitimately going to ask, given the circumstances how this fight ended, is this really going to be your last fight? And Hopkins didn't even let him get the question out when he said, "That's it, final, it's done." So I think to me he is done. He, like I said, he has other things he needs to do. And I think he recognizes it at this point. Father Time's undefeated. You can fight Father Time as much as you want, but ultimately Father Time wins. So it ultimately caught up to Hopkins. It's mainly a case of a division already getting younger and you can't fight it. Now, like I said, not everybody can be in the same terms like Michael Jordan was with the Bulls. And I don't think he wants to go out. Well, he technically did go out that way, but he doesn't want to be fully remembered like Michael Jordan in his Wizards years. We remember that mess. Now, as far as for Joe Smith Jr., you mentioned a local fight. There's actually a lot of talk now on Long Island between him and Shawnee Monahan. Light heavyweight prospect signed by Top Rank recently. And this is how local this is in Long Island. Obviously, everybody knows now that Joe Smith is from Suffolk County, Mastic. Even though he tries to claim Shirley because Shirley's the nicer part of that area. But he's from Mastic. And he's a union worker, steel worker. Shawnee Monahan was born in Minneloa and lives in Long Beach. That's Nassau County, Long Island. And he was a bricklayer. So I'll put it to you this way. If this fight was being held in Nassau Coliseum, it would sell out Nassau Coliseum. Too bad, unfortunately for them. Nassau Coliseum is currently going, I think, through the second year of a 7-year complete rebuild. So they probably had to put the fight somewhere like in Barclays, or the Theater of Madison Square Garden, but it'll sell out because, in fact, even his promoter, I think Joe Smith's promoter, even said that they're going to try to make the Monahan fight, and they're going to try to put it in New York. As far as for the division, I said Joe Smith's not going to get a shot, most likely at Adonis Stevenson, because Scorsese mentioned Adonis Stevenson now is slated to defend the belt against the winner of Butte and Alvarez. So that's ultimately to itself. There's not actually a whole lot of other fights that he can take that will normally generate a lot of money. Monahan's going to generate money out here. But they're not going to put main event's probably not going to put Sullenberger against him. Even though it would be a nice fight. K2's probably not going to put Vostok against him. Even though it would be a nice fight. We got to see how it works out, because also on top of that, Joe Smith, he's still not a full-time fighter yet. He's even said in the post-fight press conference that he's still working in the union while all this is happening, and he's not going to quit the union. So that's something very hard to do. Like, Aaron Molina proved that when he faced Joshua, you can't be if you're going to face the top level competition, you cannot be a part-time fighter. So eventually, Joe Smith has some decisions to make. But probably next is probably going to be Monahan.
I see Gus from Corruption of Joke and Boxing has joined us. I'm gonna go to him in a bit. I'm going to you first, EJ, and then Scorsese. Is Hopkins really done? And if he is, the future for Joe Smith Jr. What do you see?
Is that me?
Yeah, first you EJ, and then Scorsese.
Hopkins is done. Like he's done. Like he's done, man. He's cooked, baked, whatever you want to call it, man. Like yeah, he's done, man. Like and he like you know,
He's cooked, baked, and burnt.
yeah, but whatever, like if you want to call it, yeah, like there's no reason for him to come back, man. Like I mean, he could, but on that performance, man, it's like you're just doing your legacy, your Roy Jones. You know what I mean? That's basically what he's doing. Like your career is just like people will beat you and just to say I beat Bernard Hopkins. That's what shot that guy who beat him. Just Hopkins in his prime would have just took that guy to school, in my opinion. Yeah, so like yeah, he should be done. And if he continues, hey, listen, man, it's just gonna be tragic. There's no need for him. He's got a HBO job. He's a part owner of Golden Boy. So I think yeah, he should be done. But if he comes back, that's on him. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to get any younger, is he? Like, you don't care how people see his body. So, all right, that's me, man.
Scorsese. Scorsese, unmute your mic, brother.
Yeah, if he isn't done, he's still done. But I'm gonna take it back to the curse. If he's not, I wonder if it's that curse telling his mind that, hey, keep going, so I can keep doing this to you. Like I said, it's escalating. It truly is, and I hope it doesn't start playing mental games with people because I really feel like Kovalev will be in line for some mental play with him losing that decision and really not being able to handle that he lost. Maybe that curse just says to him, you know, something, do something disgusting, do something evil. And I mean, I'm telling the curse now, I'm not down for that. I'm down for seeing him get beat up, but don't escalate that far. Let that man sit down somewhere. I've got my laugh, I got my joy out of it, but I can't tell you if that curse satisfied or not. Can't tell you if the boxing guy satisfied or not. Remember, this guy played one of the best knockout artists of your time. My time, Daniel's time, EJ's time, Gus's time, Michael's time, everybody's time, and Jacob's time. He played him, and that curse ain't playing with his ass. I hope they don't do it to him, but even if he ain't done, he will be done again.
Okay, Gus. Since you came on late, I'm gonna give you some time to talk about the fight itself, as well as is Hopkins really retired? Is going to keep up with his word, as well as what do you see the potential of Joe Smith?
Superman Stevenson curse. Sorry, man. Bad throat. Damn, I was hoping to catch Hopkins' opinion. I'm going to have to listen to it later on. But Michael, what can I say? I think it was probably a case of poetic justice in the end, where finally an individual who has pretty much manipulated the rules of engagement for so long, where he's always almost extricated himself from a fight when he's either getting outboxed or he feels he's not going to get the better of his opponent, and thus he has, manufactured some reasons to extricate himself from the fight, primarily because of that professional pride that, sometimes we have, in which when we know we're going to lose and we just cannot accept defeat, pride gets the better of us, and we, make excuses. You just cannot admit to yourself that, you weren't the better man whatsoever. But the fight was too difficult for him, Mike. 25 months of inactivity for a 51-year-old. He may have defied physics and biology, but it becomes a little bit difficult. He did well in certain elements, but Joe Smith, he listens to his corner, Mike. You know, that they were saying, you know, throw your jab, work the body, throw your jab, work the body. They were just shouting it frequently throughout the fight, and he was doing that. You know, a very big light heavyweight, Mike, with exceptionally long arms. I haven't seen the tail of the tape, but really long reach. Be interesting to see exactly what it is. But he hurt Hopkins throughout the first fight, stunned him. You know, his body work at time was very good. I don't know how Hopkins did not go down from some of those body punches. Where Hopkins had a bit of success is where Joe Smith was not. He was staying in the pocket. He weren't coming forward. So that little gap allowed Hopkins to use some of those, you know, wily old tricks on the back rope where he's sort of, you know, shifting his body down low and then firing his right hand, which was connecting pretty well. But in the end, you know, it was just just a crazy sort of combination. You know, I saw that left hook literally lift a man off his feet. You know, there clearly was no push. I don't see how he even hurt his ankle. I see him bang his head sort of lying on the floor. You know, I thought he was dead for a moment. I thought, damn, my wish of a gurney is actually going to come true.
Wow.
Wow.
But he got up, but he was out on his feet. You know, he sounded like
Y'all are cruel, man.
Gus is a believer. Gus is a believer.
Yeah, he sounded like Tim Bradley after the Provodnikov fight. You know, he was just like completely incoherent. Yeah. What else can you say? You know, if you you know, you defy the voodoo witch doctors, you know, then the wrath shall be cast upon you.
You were Scorsese with these curses, man. Let me go to Jacob.
He said he was getting tired and he couldn't handle the shit I was on him. He fucking pushed me. No, sir. Stop it, B-Hop. Stop it.
Your thoughts on all this, Jacob?
I mean, I guess everybody's entitled to their opinion, but I don't believe in curses. And you know what? For all the shit that I guess Hopkins is getting on here, he still has a place in history. He still was able to do a lot. You know, what do you expect a fighter to say? What do you expect anybody to say when they lose, especially to lose the way he did? You're going to make up excuses on why you lost, and, you know, I'm nursing an injury, or, you know, like, that's what they do. That's what people do when they lose in a way that they didn't think they were going to lose. You know, we hear it all the time. So I'm not surprised by that. But do I think, you know, he's done? No, maybe I'm the only one that doesn't think so. Again, one of the biggest, this is an actual real curse of fighters, is that they can't walk away from the sport. We can name fighter after fighter after fighter that, you know, past their prime, keep on coming back and keep on coming back and keep on coming back. And, you know, it's rare that a fighter will go out, you know, on top or on their own terms. And I think, you know, Hopkins in the moment, he's gonna say what he says, and, you know, but, you know, time's gonna, you know, he's gonna be sitting there and he's gonna think about it, and I'm sure he's gonna see some funny memes and all this stuff, and it'll eat away at his pride. He's a very prideful guy, so I think we'll see him back. Hopefully he'll take a little softer touch fight. As far as Joe Smith, you know, like, I'd love to see him, you know, he's earned the right to get that fight in Long Island with was it Shaughnessy or
Shawnee Monahan?
Monahan, sorry. But you know, I'd love to see him fight, you know, some of the other guys, like, you know, Sullivan Barrera just, you know, had a good performance against Shabransky. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see him against Shabransky, or even that guy Gonzalez. It's a Yuri Gonzalez, the guy that fought Pascal and fought Shabransky also. So I mean, I think there's some fights out there that Fonfara even before he gets into the deep waters of like a Kovalev, Ward, and Stevenson, but we'll see. But
Good point. Good point. Nobody's mentioned the Fun Fire rematch all week that I've been hearing about this. Nobody ever mentioned it. Good point.
As far as Hopkins, he says he's done. Damn it, I hope he means it because to EJ's point, he's cooked. You know, um, he can't improve from that. Um, Daniel said Father Time is undefeated, and he's absolutely right. Hopkins, like I said, he did some good things in there, did some decent things, but every time Smith hit Hopkins, Hopkins felt the power. Uh, I don't know how in a rematch he can combat that. If anything, he could get knocked out sooner in a rematch. So I don't want to see him in the ring.
But do we think that he's going to take a rematch, or he could take a softer touch fight, someone that doesn't have as much power, or someone that he can utilize his skills to beat?
The problem was large points to this fight. Hopkins couldn't pull the trigger, and Hopkins couldn't evade punches that in his 5 years ago he would have evaded easily. That's the point. For the things he did good in that fight, there was some glaring things that was like, yeah, he doesn't have it anymore, or he doesn't have it nearly like he used to. So that's my concern. That's my concern about him.
What I'm saying though is that he'll be back. I'm not saying he's going to fight any killers. He might just go out on a win, but I could see him coming back and fighting. Like I said, a soft touch, fight, getting the win, and that's not that's his final fight. I don't think he's going to try to go after Smith again. I mean, he looked goddamn scared in there.
I'm not even talking about against a Smith again, not just him, but against any decent. I mean, look, he could go for just a win, but we as boxing fans know what that is. It's cheap. It's a cheap win. It doesn't mean anything.
It's a bird though.
Right.
Well, it means something to him.
Why any cheap win he's going to get if he decides to come back is not going to outweigh him getting knocked the fuck out the ring. It's not. People will remember that first and foremost, that fight. And that's one thing. Two, financially, he's doing very well. So, rest on your laurels in that. Find comfort in what you have done and just take this knockout loss for what it is.
Yeah, Mike, and I don't know whether you guys have gauged it, but I am sensing some deterioration in his speech as well now.
I really hadn't noticed that. Maybe I'll go back and watch some interviews. But for me, as far as Hopkins coming back, I'm with EJ on this one. 100%. He doesn't need to.
Oh, no. Wait. It has been noticeable, because it's been noticeable in HBO segments. Very noticeable.
Yeah, and that's worrying. Very worrying.
Because, like I said, I will have to pay more attention, because when I watch fights, I usually pay attention to the action and don't pay attention to the commentary, because I don't want to be influenced by that. But you very well could be right. Let's go to the undercard right quick. Going back to you, EJ. Unmute your mic. Oleksandr Usyk fought a South African by the name of Manchuno. Stopped him in the 9 rounds. And for me, EJ, he struggled a bit early. I don't know if it was a bit of nerves or he had some problems figuring out the style of Manchuno, but eventually he found his way. He landed some punches, the necessary punches to hurt Manchuno. I think knocked him down in round 6, I believe, twice. Then he finished him off in the 9th. Assess his first title defense.
Yeah, against the Tavisa Nchunu, man. I've talked to him. I've actually interviewed him quite some time back, before he fought Eddie Chambers, and he's a very good boxer, especially for his height as well. He's pretty good, but coming off the fight, the knockout against Junior, what's his name again? Junior thingy, Junior Macabo. I was coming off of that knockout, against him, someone's making some noise in the background. Scorsese, man, like you need to mute yourself, Scorsese. All right, there you go. All right, whatever. There. Yeah, coming off the knockout, I said like it's not a good look. And Mr. Bashir, you know, I talked to Mr. Bashir, and when he was in the corner, Eddie Chambers, when Nchunu beat him, and he don't like Nchunu too much because he embarrassed him and Eddie with Eddie Chambers. So it's I'm sure it was a part of him going against Nchunu in this position where Nchunu's been knocked out in the fight, which he actually thought he was supposed to win. And the way Usyk fought, Usyk fought to me like he didn't. It was weird, right? Because it's like he was fighting almost like, and Tuna was a beast. He was so cagey at the first thing. And I was like, oh, what are you fight that for? The dude's just been knocked out. You need to jump on him, and then slowly he just got his confidence, and then he just turned into a beast, man. He just was turned into an absolute beast. Like I spent you a bit earlier, and took Tuna apart bad. Like he just took him like Junior Carbo did, done the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So I was impressed by like the later rounds, not necessarily in the first rounds, and it was a good stoppage there. But I knew it was going to happen anyway. Like I said, boxing's it's about who you fought in your last fight, and obviously Tuna has been knocked out in his last fight, so I knew that Usyk was going to do that, because Usyk, if you can't hurt Usyk and you haven't got enough power to get your respect, then like I don't see how you can beat Usyk, man. You need to have power. You need to have and then Tuna wasn't showing he had power. He's a very skillful boxer, but as you saw, he was skillful to a fault, but after a while, the power, you start getting hit, started wearing down him, and he got took out, and he got took out pretty good as well. So his performance was okay, you know what I mean? Like, but I honestly, like, I can see this dude just cleaning up the division, bro. Like when I talked to Tony Bellew, when Tony Bellew was like, I think he was fighting for European or something like against one of them dudes in it from Germany, whatever. He was telling me that Usyk was the best in the division. I go, what do you mean? I go, Tony, like, he's the best in the game right now. He's the best in the division. And he was even a champion. And Bellew was telling me like, nah, he's the man. And I was like, you're weird. This is weird, right? You just come into the division, but you're telling me this guy's the best in the division and he'll beat everyone. So it shows me that all the guys in the division, they know this dude's the real deal. And he'll probably unify all the belts in the division within next, probably if he gets a shot at some of them dudes there, he'll clean up. So performance was okay. That's my assessment.
I'm gonna ask you a follow-up question, then I'm gonna go to Gus. I'm glad you said, first of all, about what Tony Bellew said. Why? Because when I was saying after Usyk won the belt, how Tony Bellew claimed that he doesn't want to fight this dude, he will never fight this dude. A lot of people were like, "Oh, you don't know what you talk about. Bellew will fight this dude." Nah. I'm glad you reaffirmed my stance on that.
He told me
Bellew wants none of this guy. He wants
none of him. Yeah, my interview's there with him. Like, he just said, nah. There's no point. That's why he'll get the big paydays and look to bow out. He ain't trying to fight Tony Bellew ain't trying to fight no mandatory, nothing. He's looking to, don't want no part of Usyk. All of them, like Golovkin, you know what I mean? He got that work. Gowaki's good. All of them, Hawk, all of them dudes up in the division. When they see this man coming, they're like, nah, bro. He's the, when they talk about Lomachenko in the thing, that is, Lomachenko, great, whatever. But this dude's taking names, listen, bro, Joe Joyce, if you saw what he did to the amateurs, what he did to that guy, bro, it was just like, nah, this dude is the real deal. Like, and Mr. Usyk, when we were talking to Mr. Usyk, before the fight, right? Even like, I think it was hours before the fight or something. Yeah, I think it was hours before the fight. And he was saying, I said, Mr. Sure, so what do you do to prepare, before the fight? He goes, man, I'm just here eating blueberries and shit. I was like, what? He's just there chilling because he knows it's going to be a war, man. He's got complete confidence in Usyk, and it showed, man, like Usyk could just do what he wants. It's up to Usyk what he wants to do at this point.
Okay.
Usyk, the performance, like I said, the performance was okay. All right, that's
it. Speaking on the performance of whatever he wants to do, Usyk. I was on another boxing show. I believe it was on Daniel's boxing show. No, I was on somebody else's boxing show. Was talking about this fight and the future of Usyk. During the HBO commentary, they was already talking about him possibly moving up to heavyweight. For me, I can understand that, and I think there are some heavyweights that he could beat, namely Joseph Parker right now. But I wouldn't mind Usyk, who's had 10 or 11 fights. He go the Holyfield route. Try as much as he can to try to unify the division.
Bro, let me tell you something.
And then move up to heavyweight. Let me finish, because you can see the networks are showing some investment in him. He got on this undercard. It's rumored that his next fight is going to be on the Triple G Jacobs undercard. So the networks they got some interest in him. Am I wrong in thinking that he could see if he can try to unify the cruiserweight division, or should he just get a few coins in the bank with some defenses and move up to heavyweight?
Listen, man. Let me tell you something, man. Listen. Look, if he goes up, he's the man at cruiserweight. Let me say, he go up to heavyweight, bro. The average guy out there is going could lay him out. Like every guy up in there has power. He's fighting guys that he actually has more power than him. So he'll be facing something new. Until I've seen him go against a guy who has actually power like he has, then we'll see what he's made of. But like, listen, I don't give him much a shot at heavyweight, but at cruiserweight, he's the man. If they're gonna invest in him, and we're gonna see what happens. Because obviously K1, you saw Vitaly Klitschko, and he's gonna do the part. But let me tell you something, man. Like if he goes up to heavyweight, bro, every fight out, bro, listen, that'll be like the acid test. So I like to see it, but I don't give him much of a chance. But hey, we have to see. Depends on like you said, depending on the opponent. Like Joseph Parker, bro, I like Joseph Parker in that fight, man. I know Joseph Parker ain't that good, but bro, listen, cruiserweight to heavyweight is a completely different proposition. But we'd have to see, man. We'd have to see.
Gus, and then Jacob and Daniel. Your breakdown of Usyk's win over Minchuno, as well as his future, his potential here.
Mike, interesting points that yourself and EJ raised, and I'll extend it a little bit. I think it's the dichotomy of not only him as a cruiserweight, but specifically the manner in which he fights pretty much goes against the norm of what the general perception and consensus is of big men knocking people out, because his style is very much of a boxer and a beautiful technical boxer. So it wasn't surprising to me that the crowd were booing at certain times, because I think they don't appreciate this guy for what he is, what he can do. They're pretty much expecting him to go out and knock out his opponents. Now, don't get me wrong, I feel he could have done that, but this is just my personal opinion of knowing this guy as a fighter for so many years. I sincerely believe that Usyk implemented a game plan to fight Tabizo skill set against skill set inside the pocket. He thought, Tabizo is a very underestimated, very underappreciated technical boxer. EJ is absolutely right. A lot of people have not seen him. They may just have seen his fight with Junior Makabu, and that's it. Go beyond that. He's very, very gifted, so athletic, has a beautiful jab, good upper body sort of shoulder roll movement. HBO were describing him as unorthodox. They're completely wrong. He's not awkward or unorthodox at all. It's sort of a twitch reaction style, but that doesn't mean you're awkward. He sits pretty much in the pocket. There's nothing awkward about him at all. Fires a beautiful left counter punch, and within the first 4 rounds, it was certainly causing Usyk some problems. But the other punch that was really causing Usyk problems was his jab. And given the height disparity, did you notice how he was firing the jab from the hip onwards rather than when you're throwing it parallel from your hands? So it was pretty much going against Usyk's peripheral vision, because it's coming up diagonally underneath. So thus it was piercing his guard, because Usyk would take steps back, and he generally has that conventional high guard. So the jab from the hip onwards was firing almost underneath his jab as well. But then when Usyk would fire that, he tends to fire that triple right hook combination and step to the right. Nkunku would actually turn his body and fire that straight left counter so quickly. And, that was... So for the early parts, although the pace may have been slow, I thought, I was thinking, this is a really high technical, proficient skill fest. It was almost a little bit like a fencing contest at times, but you could clearly see the skill there. But when Usyk, you could hear Mr. Bashir later on saying, look, it's now time. And the two punches where I feel definitely had an effect was one, his uppercut, which led to some of the knockdowns. And second, and probably the key punch, was his left hand and firing it over the shoulder roll. Because of his height and his reach. And Tabizo's sort of shoulder roll, the right hook was actually coming off his shoulder roll. So the better option was to fire that left hand and loop it over his guard, loop it over the shoulder roll. And that led to the subsequent knockdown. So, and the other thing that I noticed, Mike, which people are sleeping on, is his hand speed, because this guy has got tremendous hand speed. Not only tremendous foot movement, but his hand speed as well. So that ability to just, almost go from second to like full fifth gear, which led to the knockdowns, and then sort of go back to maybe third and then step up another gear as well. So he'll learn how to obviously calibrate it properly and sort of tailor it to what, the audiences are demanding on him. But I just think he wanted to put a show, fight the guy, skill set for skill set. And you could hear Tabizo's corner when he went back to the corner, I think after the 8th, they looked at him and they said, "Is this guy a better boxer than you?" And he just looked at them almost dumbfounded to say, "My God, he is. And he's beaten me at my game." So, I thought it was a tremendous fight and a great win, personally.
Daniel and Jacobs, your thoughts on Usyk's win, as well as the prospect of him fighting eventually at heavyweight.
To me, Usyk is he's still a work. Even though, like I said, I was there when Tony Bellew. I heard him say it. I think in the commentary that he would not fight Usyk. I think it was when Box Nation was carrying the fight. So he no, Sky Sports is carrying the fight, and Bellew said, "I'm not fighting him. He's the best." So there's that point. And for Usyk, I think he faced a lot of things when fighters fight Machunu. Machunu for the Cruiserweight division is small. Like EJ makes a joke that he's actually 5'7" instead of listed as 5'10". But he's very small, but what he's learned to do is make himself a smart target in the meantime. And I think that's for the first couple of rounds, he did do that. He made himself a smart target for Usyk and then started to land some good punches on it. But unfortunately, then Usyk decided to raise his game up, and it showed a bit. Now, was it pleasing to the eye? Yes, unless you were a big fan of knockouts. In fact, that's probably one of the reasons why the crowd was heavily booing him in the beginning. But it was overall, he showed his level of class, he showed his level of skill, and like I said, there was a reason but Machida didn't make it look easy. There was a reason Mr. Bashir did not want him for this fight. Now, for his prospects of going to heavyweight, he has a body frame to eventually be a heavyweight. But if he and Mr. Bashir are smart, and nothing tells me that they're not, he can probably hold that off for at least a good 2 or 3 more years. Let him take over the Cruiserweight division. Let him beat Ledebev. Let him beat Gassiev. Let him beat Bellew if Bellew is still there, or whoever holds the WBC belt at that time. Let him do that, and then afterwards, go to heavyweight. Go do a big money fight. Then try to claim to be the real heir of the Klitschko's. But it was a good start, and like I said, they're going to move him fast. Like I said, you mentioned he's already listed as being part of the undercard for Triple G Jacobs. So we'll have to see going into Usyk, but you can tell that he's still trying to adjust his style from amateurs to pro, because a lot of the combinations that he threw, there are punches that will score in the amateurs, but probably won't affect a judge's scorecard in the pros, especially if he's in a tough fight.
Your thoughts, Jacob?
Bless you to whoever sneezed. But yeah, wanted to hit on a couple points. First of all, the booing is because, and this happens at almost every fight in the States. You have this, I don't know, I call it the post MMA era of fans, if you want to call them fans, that are just there for the event, and all they want to see is knockouts, and they want to see everything done in the first round, and they don't understand that, boxers come out, they fill out, their opponent. They're looking for opportunities to see where they can utilize their tools, and they work up to that eventual that knockout. So I think that's where a lot of the boos come from, is just from plain ignorance of the sport and not appreciating that. My criticism on Usyk, although he's very good and he's a very big guy, is that he does, in my opinion, fight small. I would like to see him use his jab and his reach a little bit more to set up his punches. And I would like to see him, I guess, put a little bit more of his body weight and turn into his punches. I think it does lend itself to that amateur style where, you're getting points, for contact versus, actually trying to knock the guy out. But it was I wouldn't say it was a below average performance. I think, he did what he needed to do. He got some rounds in. It was his first U.S. debut. He had quite a bit of supporters there also. And he does some things really well. He's got great feet. He moves really well. He can punch in combinations and from different angles, which I like. I think he should stay at cruiserweight for a little bit and work up. Get some defenses and maybe unify before he goes to heavyweight. But I think he would be credible and even be able to beat some of the top heavyweights right now. For a guy his size, he moves exceptionally well. He kind of reminds me of Lomachenko in a way, where he does that kind of a quick step over, to his right to, kind of land an angle on the chin. But yeah, I mean, I think he's ultra talented, and hopefully, they're able to kind of move him along and get him meaningful fights at cruiserweight and eventually to heavyweight.
I think Mike's away for the moment.
Yeah, it looks like it. Wait, come on, Mike.
Okay,
Where you
sorry,
at?
I muted myself there. I'm sorry. I was going to talk Joseph Diaz, but I'm gonna skip that. I mean, he won. His performance was man. Hassan
Whack is what
N'Dam.
it was.
Hassan N'Dam. He fought over the weekend. Fought some dude from Venezuela by the name of Blanco. I'm just gonna open it up for
That's what I
everybody
like
here.
it.
21 seconds. Boom. Candidate for knockout of the year.
Yeah, but
Anybody
the
who want
guy,
to
yeah,
jump
but
in,
no,
your thoughts?
yeah, that guy, no one even know who that guy is, man. Like, I even like he got a ranking and stuff, like, and Adam was celebrating like he won a belt, man. But I was like, man, I was a good knockout, but that ain't no one. Like I guess he been fighting such hard fights that he's happy he got a gimme. But I was like, you're
Yeah,
supposed
yeah.
to do that, man. Like, you supposed to do that. The only thing I'm happy about is obviously the impressive of the knockout. Knockout was devastating, but like, hey, it's what it is, man. Good on him, man.
Yeah, it's all relative because of the guy he did it against.
Pretty
Um,
much. It doesn't take away the visual though, Mike. It does not take it away at all.
indeed. Let's move on. And Alexander Povetkin, the food tested positive again.
Boo.
I can't remember the substance he tested positive for, but late Friday night, my time, I heard about it hours before his bout with Stavern. Stavern, upon hearing about it, left Russia. I don't blame him. Yet Povetkin was still allowed to fight Dohapas on late notice. Took him out in 6 rounds, I believe. Listen, I've said this before on my show that I have standards, and because I have standards, I didn't watch this fight. I refused to watch the fight, and I will never watch this fight. Um, I'm disgusted by this. I'm offended by all of this. The fact that Povetkin tested positive again for a second time. The fact that he was allowed to fight a sanctioned bout. The fact that that win is going to be put on his record. Um, he should be suspended. His camp should pay Stavern training fees and traveling fees and whatnot. Um, this is an outrage. And for anybody who wants to chime in and talk about this, please do, because this pisses me off.
He should be banned for
And
life.
folks want to talk, and folks was talking about prior to this that they should let him fight Wilder again. Please.
No, he should be banned for life. I agree with you, Michael. It's disgusting. You know, what's even worse, it wasn't even the same substance. He got popped for the first time. So all it tells you that this guy's looking for any way to cheat. And, you know, his kind of resurrection of his career is put into question. And you can't, you know, who knows? He was probably using, and he had a better version of himself because of that. So while I'm glad Wilder never fought him, I don't think he should be able to fight again. Hopefully he gets a long ban, and he's old enough where that's the end of his career.
We've talked about this in the past, Gus, about the ties of PEDs with Russia in all of sports, and how it played a role in the first suspension. It rears its ugly head again. Speak on it right quick.
Yeah, Mike, what I want to do is just quickly make the distinction that a lot of folks are getting confused with VADA and VADA itself in drug testing, who does what, whatever. Now, the body that was undertaking tests was VADA, which is the Voluntary Anti-Doping Association, and they're an independent organization that promotes effective anti-doping specifically for boxing and mixed martial arts. That is their two specific disciplines they work in. The WBC's clean boxing program, they're working at the behest of the WBC, who are paying the bills and supervising all of the testing for all top 15 ranked athletes within the WBC who decide to enroll into the program. Now, the Voluntary Anti-Doping Agency, they benchmark their findings against the definitive list, the rules and practices of the World Anti-Doping Agency, who instead are a foundation comprising of 38 IOC International Olympic members. So they're seen as the main organization because of their association with so many of the major countries. Now, they're not arbitrarily or enforcement agencies. Obviously, they will provide recommendations then to the individual boxing board of controls within the fighters' individual countries to take the subsequent action. Now, the sanctioning bodies can also make rulings against a fighter, and they can obviously stop the fighters from fighting within one of their sanctioned bodies, but they're very much making the recommendations to, say the Russian board of control to actually implement that action. So that is obviously one problem as well, with the lack of the main arbitrary body. So it then falls, so it's almost delegating that decision making to somebody else. Now, in this particular case, VADA had conducted their test, and they made the findings on Friday the 8th. And then they subsequently forwarded their recommendations to the Russian Board of Control at the time, and to the WBC incidentally. So it was the WBC who then decided that they wouldn't sanction the fight. So somehow, and basically the substance ostarine has been on the World Anti-Doping Agency's 2008 ban list. From their sort of recommendations and all of their testing, they're saying that it specifically helps like many of the other anabolic steroids, but it's specifically calibrated to increasing testosterone, which is redistributing fat in the body, but it's also directly leading to increased muscle mass, fat loss, and reinforcing sort of bone density. So altogether, it's obviously contributing to an athlete's enhancing his superior, not only strength and conditioning, but endurance as well. So clearly there is a significant advantage for somebody who has been taking Ostarine. Now, the interesting thing with all of this was that within sort of 48 hours, they somehow managed to find Johan Duapa as a contingency plan. And bizarrely, he forgot his boxing boots, but somehow he managed to borrow Scorsese's Asics running shoes and fight in them. But fat load of good that they did for him, because my God, he literally walked into a Povetkin sort of vicious double left hook. That was one of the knockouts I have ever seen, literally bouncing him up, and that double left hook would have probably have knocked out a Tyrannosaurus Rex during the Dinosaur Cretaceous period.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, boy. My opinion on that fight there is we've entered the new time in boxing where people have been found in drugs, and the show must go on. And to be honest with you, it's quite a sad day in 2016 where someone's been found in drugs, especially after all the effort Floyd Mayweather, a lot of people have put in to make sure that to make sure that the sport is clean. That he's the first guy that actually who's actually found taking drugs and actually allowed to perform on a stage. And
after failing a drug test earlier this year.
Yeah, it was very. It's very. I couldn't believe it. Like I was like, well, this is illegal, man. This is very dangerous. And the Harpers, did Harpers beat Hellenius recently? Did he beat him? I think
yes, he did.
It's
yes,
like
he
just had a good win against Hellenius, and I don't know whatever reason he was there sparring, and that his team let him go in there, but he obviously needs the money. Like Gus said, he was in there with his tennis shoes, and I was like,
I can't really.
I couldn't. I'm watching this, and I think, should I be watching this? Like, this is illegal. Like, and everyone is like, we're watching this thing, and obviously the event, whatever, and the crowd are happy and stuff like that. And he came out saying, our partner come out saying, well, Roy Jones has took drugs. These people have took drugs. Like, are you crazy? Like, this is illegal. And this is what I'm worried about now. It's like, so there's double standards. Some people caught with drugs and everyone just bombs them out. Lucas Brown as well, and everyone's like, oh, forget. But other people have took drugs, they go ham, or they go crazy, like, oh, they go like this person deserves to die. But this guy took drugs in his system. They found it. WBC have said, no, we're not involved. We're out of here. But they've let the show go on, and he's knocked out an opponent, man. I mean, what the heck is going on? So I reckon we're entering a new stage where people are going to be taking drugs, and they're going to let shows go on. So I'll tell you what, this is what we're going to do here. If in our contract, I'm going to say, I'm taking drugs and you can take drugs as well. So let's both agree to take drugs. Let's juice up the place, and then we can fight. How about that? So we should do that. And then at least we know that we're both like putting our lives in life both with drugs. That's what they should do. Just be honest like that. But and then us as the fans should decide we want to watch it. But to be honest with you, there's not much of outrage apart from me and Michael, and obviously you guys on the panel maybe as well. That this was illegal. This is everything. It's almost like Margarito having raps, gauze in his raps. It's just illegal. And to be honest with you, the Harpers, because he needs the money, he's the victim of it. You know what I mean? I don't know what the knockout that might have did to him. That was devastating. I mean, it was sickening.
The folks want to have boxing go to the state that the Olympics was up into the 1970s and early 80s. Is that what they want?
But I tell you what, so far it's only in Russia. But is Russia so powerful that they're gonna let an athlete actually fight? He's been drugged and allow him to compete. I mean, to be honest with you, it was. And you know what I mean? And the whole of Russia, they had no problem with it, man. They didn't care. They didn't care.
You know what they should do? If Russia wants to take this route, The sanctioning body should take a stance with them the way they took it with South Africa.
Scared to, man. Donald Trump's in bed with them as well. Donald Trump, and then this is what I'm saying. Like we're entering a new age in sports, yeah, where we were actually was doing something like last year, 2 years ago, where we felt okay, these guys are taking drugs, everyone bombasts them. But on social media, if you make a video saying, "Oh, he's disgusting," watch the comments. They're going like, you're the problem. Like they're actually making that like you're the problem. What's wrong with you? Everyone else, they're actually making excuses, man. It's sick.
And what I mean is to provide context. The reason I mentioned South Africa, as we all know, is boxing heads and geeks. Up until late 80s, early 90s, the sanctioning bodies would not allow a South African fighter to fight for their world belt. Matter of fact, when the WBA laid down their sanctions, Brian Mitchell was technically a world champion. So they had to make a stipulation where he could keep the belt, but he couldn't fight in his home country. And as a result, none of his 12 title defenses were in his home country in South Africa. Just like the Olympics, they banned South Africa from 64 up until I want to believe 92 because of apartheid. If Russia wants to go this route and they just want to be just oblivious, not give a damn, the sanctioning body should all come together, have a consensus, and not let any of their fighters from that country fight for a belt if they're going to keep this bullshit going on.
You're in a different time. One second, I just had one. Yeah. We're in a different time where you had people like, what's his name? The guy who smoked cigar. What's his name again? The people who smoke
Castro.
Nah. I'm talking about the sports writer.
Bert Sugar.
But yeah, I'm talking about Bert Sugar. We had credible sports reporters where they'd come out and they're like, nah, but because the fight was so low key, we're obviously we're hardcore, we know about it, right? Remember, it's in Russia again. But like sports writers would like, nah, I can't believe this is a travesty. And people, you know what I mean? Howard Cosell, they were like, there's no one like that. They're all buying it, man. Everyone is buying it, they're all selling it. And so until you get sports writers and reporters to come out and actually go like that, then the show goes on.
Let's get Jacob and Daniel into this discussion.
Go ahead, man.
Jacob,
I'm here. Nothing more I can say about this. I mean, again, I said already, I'm disgusted by this. I don't think that. I agree with you. They should do something against. If they want to keep on promoting and letting these things happen, all they're doing is hurting the sport, in my opinion. I don't know. It's a crazy sport. It's I know there's a lot of factors that are involved. Money and politics and whatnot, but I don't know. I don't think anything's gonna really change, unfortunately. Fights that we shouldn't get sanctioned do get sanctioned. Sometimes they don't. Fighters that shouldn't be able to fight get to fight, and fighters that shouldn't be able to fight, same thing. So I don't know what the solution is. I don't think that there really is a solution, because there's too many factors and not enough structure. I mean, you have all these different sanctioning bodies, so one could do something and the other one do the complete opposite. So I don't want to spend too much time on it. It's just the whole thing is disgusting.
Quickly, Daniel, your thoughts?
I was in a hangout with EJ. We were covering actually the Shabransky fight when this popped off, because Mauricio Suleiman tweeted it out. There's, like I said, there's no real road that can redeem Povetkin from this. Like you are already on probation and you got caught with a substance that does a lot more than the substance you got caught for in the first place. Because as Gus mentioned, Ostarine pretty much acts like an anabolic steroid. Mendolium doesn't do that. But they're going to make, unfortunately, the Russians are going to make excuses. In fact, even Russian press already tried to make excuses for it where they tried to blame VADA. They literally tried to blame VADA. I think there's at least like 5 accounts that said, oh, look, the American drug testing agency just so coincidentally is finding results on our fighter against another American. Get out of here, that bullshit. Let's face it, okay, this is a country that does have a lot of money when it comes to natural gas. They are a shell of what they were as the Soviet Union. But what they have, it's like they have a whole bunch of billionaires, and they have a program that has, like I said, it's been found out where pretty much their entire 2012 delegation is tainted. And it goes all the way up to Vladimir Putin. I haven't seen something like that since SMU. And as I know football heads remember SMU, the Pony Express. That went all the way up to the governor of Texas.
Right.
This goes up to the president of a country who, yes, does have the president-elect of this country in his back pocket.
Yeah, I was going to ask that question. I was going to ask EJ that question. Am I being conspiratorial that part of the complicity could be tied into the fact that our new president-elect has a pretty chummy, cozy relationship with that? But you can touch on that if you want.
Oh, no. Like I said, that's only affecting Russia. And I think that's one of the affecting part of it because the WBC did the right thing in automatically pulling the sanction. And Severn did ultimately the right thing by saying, you popped and this fight doesn't mean anything anymore. I'm out. But I think Russia's is putting itself in a place where they're gonna be pretty isolationist for a good number of years. Even if, like I said, even if Trump is very friendly with them, they're gonna be very, very isolationist at this point. So they're gonna live in their own world. Like, remember, they're liking the people that are actually big, that are not Russians and Russian boxers, are fighters from a decade or two ago. Roy Jones was the reason why Roy Jones likes to go to Russia. Jose Luis Castillo likes to go to Russia because people still recognize him as what he was against Corrales. Even though he's been long past that point. But unfortunately, this fell on the Russian commission to not let the fight go forward. But they're not going to because as a country, Russia is not even... They're not even a farce of democracy. They're a kleptocracy. They're what they were before the Soviet Union, before Lenin, where the ultra rich get what they want. Think about it. The Verbinsky, the guy that runs Povetkin's promotion, he only does this for fun. This is not his job. His real money comes from oil and gas.
Oligarchs.
Yeah. That's where his money comes from. He's doing this for fun. So, in that aspect, of course he's not going to care. He's going to put everything going into it because what is he going to do? He's going to issue refunds? Especially when it's your fault?
Yeah.
He's not going to do that. And ultimately, I think it's going to become a time where what you're suggesting, Mike, and what EJ suggested, like with the South Africa situation, it's not going to happen by force. It's going to happen naturally on its own. It already started happening because Povetkin wasn't ranked in any other sanctioning body other than the WBC. No ranking in the WBA. And remember, the WBA is pretty nuts in the way they do things. No ranking in the IBF. No ranking in the WBO, and hell, no even ranking in the IBO. That's pretty much a blackball of a fighter if you ever see one. But it's a justified one. And I think ultimately it's going to happen to a lot of Russian fighters if they don't leave the country. If they don't choose to fight somewhere else where their wins are not going to be seen as tainted because they're in Russia.
Yeah, sad, outrage, farcical.
Yeah, Mike, can I just make one other point as well? The irony with this situation is that if VADA had actually enforced the proper rules, because you aware that Bermain Saverne actually tested positive a month earlier, and he was fined $75,000, but they decided that as it was just a stimulant, it didn't constitute a ban, and thus allowed him to continue, and he would have been sanctioned as well. So if he was banned a month earlier, VADA would not have found Austrian with Povetkin's with his blood work, which it is alleged that he took maybe from, I think they're saying maybe from the first to I think it remains within 10 to 12 days. So difficult to ascertain, but they probably wouldn't have found it. So the whole thing is fast, even with VADA itself. And this whole criteria now needs to change. I'm gonna be firing off some emails to them and to VADA itself to get clarification, certainly about stimulants. How can you impose a financial penalty but allow a fighter to continue? What sort of precedent does that set?
Right. To EJ's point about double standards or different standards. I mean, there it is. And which, by the way, as a side note, that's why it's wrong for those in the media and whatnot. When EJ talk about how you mentioned it and folks, well, what about this fighter? What about this fighter? Well, you ought to check to do your homework, do your due diligence to see what those other fighters got tested positive for before you jump up and just make an automatic comparison. Because when you do that and you throw up Roy Jones and this fighter, you sound like fools because it's obvious you hadn't done your due diligence, you hadn't done your homework, you didn't know what Roy Jones tested positive for, even though that was wrong. Let's be clear about that. You can't compare Roy Jones and Povetkin because they're essentially doing two different things. Think, people, before you just arbitrarily throw around stuff just to try to defend what can't be defended.
Yeah, just tell folks just to go back and look at Povetkin when he fought Vladimir Klitschko and look at him against Johan Duopa. Just look at the physical disparity between his physique, his size, etc.
Ever since Klitschko beat him up, his body, once he came back his first fight from that, his body has completely changed.
And let's not remember, all of this fights since then, all in Russia.
Yeah. Let's move on to some news here. Going back to you, EJ, if you're still awake, because I know it's late over there in the UK. Gennady Golovkin, Daniel Jacobs, signed, sealed, delivered March 18, 2017. MSG.
I thought you were going to talk about Shabransky, you know.
Okay, quickly.
I was looking to go in on that Shabransky.
He got exposed by Sullivan Barrera. He really did. I thought Shabransky was better than he was. Sullivan Barrera basically just showed me and shut me up. It was like, nope.
Yep. That shows you how good Ward is, doesn't it? That's the way I looked at that, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what?
Because this is Sullivan Barrera who couldn't do nothing with Ward. Nothing.
Nah, Sullivan Barrera is that dude, bro. Like I like him against the guy who beat Hopkins, man. I like him against from far. I like against all them dudes there, bro. Sullivan Barrera, man. I was saying he gonna get knocked out. That Shabransky gonna tap on him. Listen, bro, he pull it on him, bro. Like, and you know, this funny thing about it, people talking Shabransky, he's the murderer's row fight. Even Ward is scared to fight him. Listen, bro. He made him look like a novice, man. Like there was some parts in that fight, like he made it hard for himself. But when he established his jab, it was coasting. It was over. The knockouts was sweet. That was like, that was the most enjoyable thing over the weekend, bro. Like that Sullivan Barrera fight, man. And to be fair, I was like, yeah, kudos to Sullivan Barrera. And it shows boxing there is levels to this game. You know what I mean? Like one guy you look at and think, oh yeah, this guy's that, and everyone hyped. You got the hype, and you have the guys who get in their Ward is a very tough customer, you know, because he made him look good, and that guy showed against Shabransky. Like Shabransky was nothing really, and so I was very impressed by Sullivan Barrera, and it was very enjoyable, man. And you know what? I might just watch that again while we're talking.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you time about that and talk about go somewhere else about Golovkin and Jacobs. Because he surprised me. I'm eating crow here with that Sullivan Barrera fight. Um, he could beat Cleverly right now based on that fight. Um, he could beat a lot of the fighters in that division, not name Kovalev and Ward based off how he looked in that. So I'll go to you, Gus. Golovkin, Daniel Jacobs, as I said before, signed, sealed, March 18, 2017, I believe at the Garden in New York City. Part of a really loaded undercard, but I want to focus on the main event. A lot of questions whether this fight was going to be made. It is made. Am I wrong here for thinking that A, Jacobs is the best opponent of Golovkin's career, and B, there are some things that Jacobs can do, despite his flaws and still questions about his chin, but from a skill standpoint, height, speed, athletic standpoint, there are some things that he can do in there. He can do against Golovkin that could give him some problems.
Mike, I hate to be a killjoy here, but you're better off going to somebody else because this fight doesn't even remotely interest me. I got little respect for either fighter, Mike. I don't really want to watch it. Golovkin, he ain't no Stanley Chechu or no Harry Greb at middleweight, as all these people are sort of proclaiming that he's the best ever.
Tell that to his stands and to the stands and the fanboys.
Yeah, man. I don't know, Mike. I just watch him, and I watched him in the amateurs. I just doesn't appeal to me. He's just a headhunter, predominantly a headhunter. I think his boxing ability is just not there. It's just nobody's able to withstand his power. So until we get somebody who's able to take it, I think his days will be numbered.
Yeah, I will say I do believe Golovkin is the best middleweight in the world right now. But from a historical perspective, I do agree with you. We mentioned Hopkins earlier. Prime Hopkins, the Hopkins that I saw take apart Glenn Johnson, he would have his way with Golovkin. Roy Jones, middleweight Roy Jones, would have his way with Golovkin. Middleweight, super middleweight James Toney would have his way with Golovkin. So, and don't even mention the fighters like the Haglers and the Monzones, the Ketchels, who you remember, who you said earlier. Fighters.
Harry Greb would have put him in the
Greb, Sam Langford. Those fighters, I'm not even gonna throw them in there because it's insulting to them to put Golovkin in the same category. But from a historical perspective, I absolutely agree with you. He's not there. So I'll go to you, Daniel and Jacob. Thoughts on Golovkin and Daniel Jacobs March next year in MSG.
I know you don't want to talk about the whole card, Mike, but this is an all-day event in New York because not only do you have that as the main event in Garden itself, in the theater on St. Patrick's Day weekend, you're gonna have the debut of Michael Conlan, who's gonna have Conor McGregor hold the Irish flag as he's making his debut. So that's an all-day event. It's like literally a day where you have to. If you're not in the city, you wake up very, very early. You get your breakfast in whatever diner there is, and then you can just stay in Jimmy's corner until you go into the fights. That's pretty much the day event now. I do agree with you in the sense of the fact that both of them are the best opponents for each fighter has faced. Both of them. Because Daniel Jacobs has hand speed that I don't think Golovkin has seen. And pointing out, some people want to point out the fact that if the shots that Kell Brook landed were landed by Jacobs, people thought that Golovkin would go down. At the same time, though, with Jacobs, we've seen him rocked a few times. Like obviously, everybody will remember Perron, and then he had that knockdown against Sergio Mora, who's not known for punching. So there's some questions there still that could be raised for either fighter. Yeah, it's the best fighter. It's the best fight for both of them at the moment. Do I expect anything less than victory from Triple G? Not really, no. Danny Jacobs has to literally pull a Quillen again to win this fight. Because Triple G might do the same thing that he did to De La Lemieux, which is fight him technically. And you saw what we did that with Lemieux. Now it's Lemieux, and now with the Jacobs' defense, like I said, that his hand speed's there. So he might not just be as slow or prodding as Lemieux, but that chin is still a little bit suspect, or as our good friend Nato even said, it's already guilty. Now, like I said, this is going to be an all-day event. I'm surprised that it didn't go to purse bid, but I think they probably gave Jacobs probably around close to 35%, opposed to what he would have gotten to the purse, which would have been 25%. And I'm unfortunately also not surprised that this is going to be pay-per-view.
It should.
It shouldn't, yeah. It shouldn't. This fight is not worthy of pay-per-view. It's not as good as it is. It's not worthy of a pay-per-view fight, but we've pretty much seen the value of what a pay-per-view fight has been degrading so drastically in a year's time. I understand why they made it a pay-per-view fight. It still doesn't make it a pay-per-view fight. Now, I do want to point out something what Gus mentioned, like, because it does go, boy, that Triple G does have a lot of stance, a whole lot of stance. But I think that's more the problem with the fact that we as a society, we just want to say we were around when the best ever was around. Like I said, it's the whole argument. If you want a contemporary argument to it, just tell somebody that's probably my age, like I said, early 30s or mid 30s, that Kobe's better than Jordan or that LeBron's better than Jordan. See what happens. That's pretty much the argument that people are having right now, because Triple G is good, but can he beat Hagler? I don't think so.
Nope.
Could he beat Monson? I don't think so.
Nope.
Could he beat a prime Hopkins? Hell no.
Nope.
Could he beat a prime John Jones? Hell no. James Toney? Hell no.
Nigel Benn could be a good fight though.
No, Ben will be a brawl. Ben would be a brawl.
Iron
That would be
Bark.
a.
You gotta remember, Ben at 160, he hit hard at 160 than he did at 168.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's a,
Yeah.
like, but
What about Gerald McLennan would murder him? Murder. They'd be like ambulances, mate.
oh, McClellan. Oh, that would just.
Yeah.
Julia
Jackson,
that is.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Whew. There's a lot of middleweights, like I said, but unfortunately, like I said, we live at the times, and it helps Triple G the fact that almost nobody in his division will face him unless they have to.
I don't know, man.
Unless they have no choice.
Charlo's talking that.
Because
Charlo wants that piece. Charlo wants that. That Charlo knocked that dude last week. He knocked that thing last week. Not that J Rock.
That'd be a good fight, Jay. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was a good fight. Yeah.
Hey, you know what? If I tell you what, Daniel, the only way it'd be pay per view if Daniel Jacobs knocks him out. Daniel's gonna get killed, yeah. But if he knocks out Triple G, it's gonna be worth the pay per view. That's all I'm saying.
Oh no!
And I'll tell you something, yeah. If Roman Gonzalez and Quadros is on the undercard of that, I'll stop boxing. You won't even hear me on this podcast again. I'm so fucking disgusted.
Wait. Okay, wait. Actually, I know you don't want to talk about the undercard, Mike, and I want to get Jacob on this. Would it be worth it money-wise if Chocolatito Quadras was the undercard?
Nope.
No.
You guys.
Can you have a pound for pound fighting on the undercard again, man? That's bullshit.
He can't carry the weight though, man. Chocolatito and Quadras can't carry that weight of a main event or a pay per view.
They did last time.
Nah, but it wasn't that. But it wasn't. It
wasn't pay per view.
I mean,
It wasn't that. Them guys, they're so little, man. They're not. You know, we love them, but they're not bringing in the dough.
I can understand why they put
Yeah.
Chocolatito Quadras rematch on the undercard if indeed it's going to happen. But for me, that kind of fight is a after dark.
Yeah,
Maybe main event, maybe. Not to the level of it being on an undercard.
No.
Well, not. But this is also the other aspect of it. This fight's been held in New York. Like, Chocolatito Quadras belongs in California or Texas.
If it belongs in Mexico, it does.
Exactly.
in the Azteca Stadium.
Right. It's not even Mexico. Just have it in L.A. again.
Yeah.
Have it in L.A.
Just have it in StubHub. Just no. StubHub as some
StubHub was good.
Mexico
Yeah, StubHub was good. StubHub was good. I like that one.
Yeah,
Well, of course, it's not that far from L.A., but still, have it in California.
yeah, like I said, it's like real estate. Location. This fight, it depends on location. The location.
Jacobs is going to sleep, man.
Oh no, that's we have to see. Like we have to see because obviously, now I will say this. Like EJ, like you have a guy in your podcast named Truth. Like said, like he is a big.
Yeah. I told Truth. I told Truth to just. It's the same with Natty. You look, man. They listen, bro. The guys are gonna. I already talking about Nicholas Waters. He inactive. That man. He gonna go to sleep, bro. He can't do. He couldn't do with P-Rog's power. He ain't damn near gonna deal with Triple G's power. So this. I ain't gonna deal with that. This the way it is.
and that's true. The inactivity is a big factor in this fight. Now, I will point out one thing that Triple G said luckily does for himself. He is a gym rat. He legitimately just had an actual training camp. Even though he had no fight, he needed a training camp. He did it.
Man, but that training camp, like everyone knows about fighting, like training camp. That's conditioning. See, Triple G had no respect for Kell Brook, and like there's flaws, but he got more respect for Daniel Jacobs. Like having a training camp, it's not the same as having an actual fight. You know what I mean? He just did that because to get the frustration out because the UK debut didn't go as well, man. That didn't kick off, man. That didn't do well at all, man. This didn't do good, man. You know what I mean? I liked it, but the fans of Triple G's didn't like it because he didn't interact with them. And in terms of his weight and all that stuff, and he weren't good for him, man. So he probably had a training camp to get stuff back in his body just to feel good again. That's probably why that it was, man.
Let's get Jacob in his thoughts on this fight between Golovkin and Jacob.
Yeah. First off, I think the pay-per-view era is dead. To me, you can't just rely on one fight anymore to sell a pay-per-view. You need to stack it. I think that's been one of their big mistakes is that they think that just one fight is gonna bring everybody in. But to me, you got to stack it. And Gus, I can understand why, hey, it's a pound for pound fighter. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
They should be able to main event on their own, but at the end of the day, again, they're putting out a product and they got to be able to sell it. And unfortunately, a Quadros for
you seem to be going mute on us in and out, Jacob.
Yeah, I'm actually on my phone. I keep on getting calls here, but anyway, I think Triple G is going to win the fight. I think Jacob's chin is in question, and because of all Triple G has to do is land a good power shot of his own. The speed might be a problem, but he's been he can take some punches. It'll be their best opponent. I agree for both of them, but we'll see what happens with this fight. So,
briefly here, Miguel Cotto set the return to the ring against James Kirkland, February 2017. I can't remember the locale. No, I remember. It's in Texas, one of Jerry Jones's buildings. Thoughts on the return of Cotto? Fighting James Kirkland, I guess 2017 is going to be his final year in boxing. I'm pretty meh on this fight. I'm even wondering, can Kirkland make the weight comfortably given how long he's been out the ring? I know Ann Wolf. I was going to say Ann Coulter. What the hell is wrong with me? But Ann Wolf. Ann Wolf is going to be back in the corner of Kirkland. It's going to help him out some, but I'm wondering how much. Again, I'm wondering can Kirkland even get down to the weight and fight at his best?
Yeah. He's probably gonna win that fight there, boy. Everyone probably think I'm crazy, but the thing is, when you got Ann Wolf in that corner and the inactivity stuff like that, he knows that this is it, man. This is it. She's in his corner. Cotto, if you're gonna get Cotto, this is the best time to get Cotto. Remember, he's not that strong at that weight, and like you said, getting down, he's got plenty of time to get down to the weight. I think like I'm looking upset, bro. I'm looking upset, man. Nah, I mean, I'm not gonna put money on it like I did with the Kirkland and Canelo and lose money again. I ain't gonna do that again. But I'm getting. But let me tell you something. When I see Ann Wolf in that corner, I turn up. I told Beats over there on his hangout. Yeah, he tried to say, man, he's gonna get nothing. I go, bro, Ann Wolf wasn't in the corner. He goes, what do you mean? I go, she wasn't in the corner in the Shida, and she wasn't in Canelo. When Ann Wolf's in the corner, the one who went against Angulu and the one who goes against that one turns up, bro. I don't know what she puts up. I don't know what she does to him, bro. She makes him turn up, bro. And that sort of guy, listen, let me tell you, it's like Kirkland coming off the Cotto, it'll be like Margarito again. Yo, Cotto don't like it, bro. Cotto won't like it if he comes at him like that. That sort of pressure he brings, because Cotto's the type of guy he's a position puncher. He likes to throw punches perfectly. And against Thingy, he's not gonna be on it. He's just gonna be relentless. If that Kirkland turns up, I'm going with Kirkland. Kirkland for the upset. I'm calling it right now. EJ Boxing's live pick for 2017. Kirkland's gonna win the fight, man.
Quickly.
By knockout, stoppage.
Oh. Quickly, any response from anybody else?
I don't think that Kirkland's gonna make the weight. I think he's gonna have a hell of a time making that weight,
especially if it's contracted 153 instead of the full 154.
Yeah, and I think Cotto, his team, they know that they like to play these games. So, I mean, he doesn't make the weight, they could always call the fight off. But Kirkland has the power to be able to put Cotto down and stop him, but he just came off a brutal knockout. Great, he's back with Ann Wolf, but sometimes that isn't enough.
Gus, Daniel,
Mike, stylistically, this is the better fight, and I'd rather pay for this pay-per-view than the one we spoke on before. But I think you made the perennial point. James Kirkland looked weight 160 pounds. For him to fight at this weight, this is crazy. This is Miguel Cotto with such an advantage. I think James Kirkland will be so weight drawn, so weak. I'm actually going to put money on maybe Miguel Cotto knocking him out.
So we got a diametric opposite here in terms of opinion here. Your thoughts,
Ann
Wolf.
Ann Wolf said to me, yeah, like Ann Wolf said on her Facebook, James Cook, he can actually make welterweight.
I ain't buying that.
No, she said that. No, she said, because I was trying to say, like, I remember I put on her Facebook, him versus Triple G. She goes, James ain't no big man. He can only do 154. He can probably make a welterweight. So I mean, that was some time back, but when she trains him up, I'm trying to tell you, man, you'd be surprised. But if weight ain't the factor, then you gotta factor in the fight. Like Gus said, the styles will blend beautifully.
Yeah, and if she's Ann Cotto, then I can guarantee Miguel will get the win.
Oh.
Well, there obviously, like I said, this fight. Like I said, I understand why it's a pay-per-view. Rock Nation did decide to give that ridiculous contract to Cotto, but it's nowhere near a pay-per-view caliber fight, because the thing about it when it comes to Kirkland's like Brandon Rios in a way. You have to keep him active, otherwise he's going to do stupid things.
Good analogy.
Yeah. The problem with Kirkland is his stupidity involves felonies. So the main thing, unfortunately, with Kirkland is the only person that actually can bring out the best in him is legitimately Ann Wolf, because she literally drives him through hell in training camp. She may do things that can maybe actually be considered torture by the Geneva Conventions to train that man in order to get him
You what he said that. You what he said that. That's funny. You know what he said that.
I mean,
that's crazy. It's true though.
But
It's true.
where's the lie, EJ? Where's the
Yeah,
lie?
that's the point.
Oh
What's the
man,
lie?
hey, listen, listen. You know what he's talking about waterboard training. Listen, bro, he's telling the truth. This is why I pick. This is why I pick him. She gonna put him through some shit. Go ahead, Daniel. Go ahead, tell him.
No, that's true. That when you're literally having the guy punch at an oncoming truck, yeah, you're doing some crazy shit. So that's going to be interesting. But at the same time, though, I'm interested in the location for this, because this location is actually the practice facility for the Dallas Cowboys. Not AT&T Stadium, the practice facility of the Dallas Cowboys, who may still be able to get, like, I think 50,000, 20,000 people, and it's a place where 8 high school teams play their home games. It was the only way Jerry Jones would be allowed to build that monstrosity. But I'm surprised that they went to Texas for this. If it was Miguel Cotto, and I probably would have tried to put this in Orlando. Try to put yourself in a place where there's a whole lot of Puerto Ricans in there, because last time I checked, the people that speak Spanish in Texas, they ain't baricuas. So that's definitely going to be an interesting outlet into it, because that gives James Kirkland an interesting home advantage when it comes to the crowd. Now,
Go ahead.
I said, now, whether the fight will be any good, I don't know. I really don't know, because at this stage, Miguel Cotto, who's been through wars, I don't know really. Like I said, and I think he mentioned this is going to be his last year. If it was going to be his last year, if this could be his last fight, I would have just go full blown Mexico versus Puerto Rico. Do what you've been trying to do. Fight Marquez. Because it would be the best way for both of you to go out.
Marquez isn't ready to fight, though, isn't he? Still unsure whether, with his injuries and everything, whether he's going to fight.
Marquez is another guy who should retire.
No, Marquez keeps saying no. He's saying his knee's fine. He's training. He's been wanting the Cotto fight, but like they're both divas in a sense. Like he wants the Cotto fight, but he wants the Cotto fight in Mexico, knowing full well Miguel Cotto will never accept that.
Well, he wants his last fight to be in Mexico, and it just so happens that this would be his last fight.
Yeah, Marquez should retire. I'm glad Cotto, this is his last year of retirement. The Kirkland fight, like y'all said, on paper, it looks good, but again, I'm just concerned. Can Kirkland get down to that weight and be strong? I have to believe it. I have to see it to believe it. If he is, he's going to give Cotto a test, but I have to see it. I have to see how he looks at the weigh-in.
2018 Cotto, Marquez, Hopkins, Supercard.
No. Just no.
I'm joking.
I'm leaving it at that. Just no. I'm going to you, Daniel, for this last story, news bit. WBC convention took place recently. Some interesting developments. Ordered some fights that it has me teased. It's how can I put it? They ordered some fights that has me like, oh really?
Mm-hmm. All right, yes. All right, yes. Like I said, like you mentioned, the WCP convention they had in Hollywood, Florida. They had it all of last week. And they've mandated some pretty interesting fights going into it. And Scorsese, like he mentioned one thing a lot about it. Like they mandated that Kovalev be ranked number 2 in their rankings, behind whoever's going to beat between Butte and Alvarez, even though Alvarez technically earned that shot already. But some of the fights that they mentioned, like I said, they legitimately now ordered Callum Smith versus the winner of the Gale Jack. They ordered a pretty interesting junior middleweight fight, Vanes Monterosian versus Erickson Lubin, which is a very, very interesting fight considering how quickly they're moving Lubin up. But the little cherry on top, that's probably has everybody running around saying, like you said, oh, really? is this fight. Because Amir Khan, even though he's showing videos that he's working, cited an injury. Therefore having him skip out what's technically his shot at Danny Garcia. The WBC has ordered Tim Bradley versus Errol Spence. This puts Spence in a pretty interesting situation because he's already the mandatory for Kell Brook. And we don't even know if Kell Brook can make welterweight at this stage now, after going full-blown middleweight.
He can.
We have, let's say, I'm going to have to see it, but
he did before. I mean, the fights before he made the weight.
Yeah, but like I said, he's been going on welterweight. This time he was going full middleweight. Your body, after doing certain things, to make it uncomfortable, unfortunately. But we have to see it because Kell Brooks apparently told Eddie Hearn to try to make the fight. But should it not happen, then the Bradley fight becomes very interesting because, unfortunately, and EJ Gus can correct me on this, is there another set of buzz for Khan Brook again? Or is this like Eddie Hearn?
Always. People can't get enough of Khan. People, fans, they want to see Kell Brook knock out Amir Khan. They want to see Amir Khan fans in Bolton and Manchester. They want to see Kell Brook get it. Queen Khan's gonna get it. Queen Khan, listen, mate. Let me say, like, they're on it. That fight always got a buzz. That fight will always sell. I mean, it's not as big as it was before. In fact, it's still big, man. I think you know what? That's a stadium fight. You know, you could probably put that on the undercard of a Klitschko thing, you know, or you know what I'm saying? Like you could, but I think Khan will probably want it a standalone. That's a stadium fight, wherever it is, Manchester, London. It's a stadium fight for real. It's a big, massive fight. Eddie Hearn will pump it up. So yeah, there's still a lot of juice in that fight.
Yeah, and there's the prospect of it. If you get Khan versus Brook, then fighting Tim Bradley makes a whole lot of sense than if you're Errol Spence's team.
Well, let's stop right there. I'm just going to ask this question for everybody. Even though they ordered Bradley to fight Errol Spence, do you think the fight will happen? Because look, for me, Errol Spence, I keep saying it, he is that dude at welterweight that none of these champions really, really want to fight. I mean, let's face it, Thurman, he wants none. Danny Garcia, his dad is never going to put him in the ring with Errol Spence. Pacquiao, I think Pacquiao would fight him, but Aaron's objective is no need to fight him. So yeah, you demand this fight, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen. I just don't see it.
No, but that's the part where, Mike, you have to see it into it. If, like I said, if Brook goes the Khan route, and unfortunately, like I said, there's always an if when it comes to this fight. If he goes into it, why not take the Bradley fight? Because then that means you are guaranteed that your next fight will be for a belt. It just matters whether it's the red belt or the green belt.
What weight is this Khan Brook fight supposed to happen at?
Welter.
But my thing is, I'm seriously wondering whether Bradley will fight a Spence. I could see a scenario where he gives up the belt.
He'll do it for money.
I don't know.
Monica will make him.
It would be the ultimate cash out. Yeah. Say again, Gus?
There is no money in the Errol Spence. Errol Spence is better off going for the IBF because the WBC is the worst sanctioning body in terms of forcing their fighters to fight their mandatories. Now, as much as I love Adonis Stevenson last honored his mandatory, Mike, check this out, in 2013 against Tony Bellew. 4 years. What the hell does that say? It says that they're the best in terms of accepting side payments. So even if Errol is the mandatory for Danny Garcia, whatever exemptions, and that fight won't even materialize. So strategically, I'd say to Errol Spence, forget about the WBC, target the IBF.
No, well, Gus, I'll throw this at you though. Like I'll mention this because we're talking about WBC convention. The WBC convention also ruled out that the fathers of fighters can be what's called the chief second, which technically now means that Angel Garcia can no longer be the head trainer of his son, as long as his son holds the WBC belt. Which to me, like I said, that's Angel Garcia's way of worming him out of the Thurman fight. Easily worming his way out of the Thurman fight. Just drop the belt, and you can make then Tim Bradley versus Errol Spence for the vacant WBC welterweight title.
Yeah, but the timescales for that happening, Daniel, I think Errol Spence is getting a little bit impatient, and it's understandable. He wants his belt, or he wants a belt. Fair enough. He's earned that position. To tell this guy that he's got to wait another year, I think is an injustice. But that is the way in which fighters almost procrastinate it, just to sort of extricate themselves from actually facing it.
It just reinforces my thought, Gus, that these guys don't want him. These guys don't want to get in the ring with this cat. They don't.
Yeah, and it's sad and it's unfortunate for him, because if you told Errol Spence that, look, Kell Brook will fight you, the fight happens in the UK, happens in 3 months' time, he'll be like, cool in the gang. He'll be more than happy. It wouldn't matter to him that he's coming to London, etc. So, very unfortunate, but that is the disgusting nature of boxing, unfortunately.
Last word on this, EJ.
What's that? Errol Spence? What's that?
Yeah.
What we discussed? Errol Spence?
The outcomes of the WBC, and they're stipulating that Bradley fights Spence, and we've been talking about Spence and whether he really going to get a title shot, or are these guys avoiding him?
Yeah, let me tell you something, man. I was thinking about this the other day. Is it really titles, or is it really the fights? I'm just the idea that I want to see a good fight, man. Like the people getting caught up on all these titles and stuff like that. But if you look at it, this is a good fight, man. Like someone's making some noise in the background. Who that? Is that you, Michael?
I don't know.
Daniel.
For me, my thing is, I'm just wondering whether these guys are going to get into the ring with them. You talking about it's the fights. Which of these fighters going to step into the ring with this cat?
No. Errol Spence ain't done nothing, man. Like, he ain't done nothing, man. Look, man, I'm going back on it again. Yeah, because I'll diss him. Errol Spence ain't done nothing, bro. Bradley's a seasoned dude, man. Like, listen, man. Like, look, Bradley's done
You're crazy, man. You're crazy.
I'm serious, man. I'm serious. Let me tell you something, yeah? Let me tell you something. This is the same thing they were talking about this Shaspransky. People need to stop getting caught up on this hype thing. Right, being a layoff Bundu, don't get it over for me. And other than beating Algieri, who's a career 140, don't do it. Going against Bradley is legit, bro. I want to see that.
He didn't just win though. He knocked out Bundu.
Don't worry about that.
He stopped Algieri, which none of the other fighters
don't worry about all that stuff. Don't worry about that stuff.
That matters. That matters. It matters how you win.
No, it doesn't. This is the first live opponent. No. It doesn't. This is a live opponent. Bradley is not Bradley's not coming in to do no just out and out. Bradley's coming in to win. He ain't gonna come in and let this guy walk over him. So we're gonna see. So regardless of the belt,
all fighters come in to win. I mean, if you're coming in
no, they don't.
No, they
don't. They come in because they've got paydays and stuff like that. They know, like the Harpers, they know they're gonna lose, man. They're gonna give it a shot. But more time, they're gonna give up. Bradley is gonna fight regardless. Listen, don't worry about the belt if he's gonna get a shot. Listen, you make a splash and take out Bradley. You're that dude, and then Bradley can just make Errol Spence look stupid and outpoint him and clearly win. Errol Spence ain't that dude. So either way, it's a good for boxing with all the winners. Don't be concerned about the belts. So we're gonna find out. That is a legit. Listen, that's one of the best matchups in the division right there.
So you're taking Bradley to beat Spence by what?
No. I'm taking this gonna be a great fight for the fans, and I'm saying Bradley can win the fight. That's what I'm saying.
I agree with you, Michael, though, in the sense that I don't think anybody, and I know Thurman doesn't want to get in the ring with them. Danny's not going to get in the ring with them, but I do think that Brook is the only one that isn't afraid of Spence, and I think he will get in the ring with them.
Michael's on mute again, isn't it? Michael's on mute. He's probably gone away. So we conduct the show. Daniel, go ahead. Give us your take. Unless you ain't done it. I think it was just medium, actually. It was just medium my last take, innit? I think everyone else is done.
Yeah. No, yeah, but that's the thing. Like, we pretty much all went through the sensitive fact, but the fact that also the matter is that we have this is going to be the actual first major test of whether Al Heyman and Bob Arum can legitimately work together on an actual big fight instead of just being, okay, we're just going to feed you guys, because that's pretty much what happened last week.
Listen, boxing is the reason why they come together, because at the end of the day they're better with each other than out. They need to make that money, and Bradley and that fight, right? They need to make that money. Go ahead, Michael.
Let's hope the fight will happen. But
that's what I'm saying. Don't worry about the belts. The belts.
I hope so. Let's move on and start closing down the show, previewing what's going to happen. No real fights of note happening this weekend, so I want to focus on the last weekend of the year. As we all know, is Boxing Head.
Better Beef, man. Better Beef's fighting, man.
Okay.
He might lose, man.
He could, but I'm more interested in what's happening in Japan. As we all know, as boxing geeks, every year there's a big fight cards with an S that goes down in Japan to close out the year. I'll go to you on this one, EJ. You and I both follow the Asian scene, particularly amongst the smaller fighters. Multiple title fights on the 30th and the 31st to close out the year. Inui's fighting. Jonathan Guzman, who I really like at 122, is fighting. The rematch against with Corrales and Uchiyama's Corrales going one of the upsets of the year, destroying Uchiyama. And there's other fights, other title fights. I think Moises Fuentes, he's fighting as well. Which of those fights that interest you?
Yeah, I like Corrales fight. I like the Jazzy Korea fight, and I also interested in the Inui fight. I'm interested in that fight as well to see how he does in that fight. I think them two probably like the biggest fights in terms of like the fights are really going to be interested in, because it'll be interesting to see how he does. Inui does with a game guy coming towards him. That'd be interesting, and obviously the Corrado fight. There's them two fights there, but the Asia man, it's funny, right? Because the rest of the world is celebrating New Year, and Japan has a card over there, man. What a day to celebrate, man. You know what I'm saying? It's a shame that the rest of the world doesn't notice them cards in Japan, but we do. So that's why we're talking about it. So it's gonna be it's a good way to start into 2017. I really look forward to the cards in Japan. I always do the commentating, so you guys are welcome to come over and join me on the commentary when they're happening live as well. So I'll try and put that up on YouTube at some point.
And I'll be around for that, at least on New Year's Eve, at least the early part of New Year's Eve. I don't know about later on because it is New Year's Eve. But
and remember, we're 5 hours apart as well. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when you're celebrating, I'm celebrating. Am I celebrating before you? Now, I'm celebrating before you, so I'm gonna be kind of relaxing when you guys are starting up.
Yeah, and the Inui fight in particular, he's fighting Kono, a countryman. Should he win, that should be the Kickstarter, the jump off of a probable debut in the U.S. Come 2017, and hopefully an eventual showdown with Chocolatito. I'll just go around everybody else here: Gus, Jacob, Daniel. Of those fights that's happening on the 30th and 31st, the end of the year in Japan, what has piqued your interest?
There's 3 fights, Mike. I think the sleeper for the fight of the entire weekend is the fight on the 31st. Jonathan Guzman against Yukinori Ogari. This guy, Mike, I think he must have been a Mexican in his previous life, the way Ogari fights, because he fights very unlike a Japanese fighter. He's a front foot pressure fighter who throws, so many punches. He's a real fun fighter to watch. So I think stylistically, this is going to be a really exciting fight, because I can see him almost trying to walk Jonathan Guzman down. And we know Guzman has the ability to fight on the front and back foot. And incidentally, who Guzman beat for the title, Shingo Wake, is the only man to have stopped Ogari. And if folks haven't seen that fight, I would highly recommend that fight. Shingo Wake and Yokinori Ogari.
Is the fight on YouTube?
Yeah, a fantastic fight, Mike. They were just throwing so many punches. You'd think, what the hell is this even Japan? But yeah, so that fight would be. But the intriguing one definitely is it's the Corrales Uchiyama rematch, and I've been reading a lot about Uchiyama. He did a fantastic interview for the Times of Japan where he talked about everything, the fight itself, and he made no excuses for the fight. He said that his training camp before the first fight was perfect, no interruptions, no problems. He said he actually felt stronger than ever. So he wasn't underestimating the opponent. People were talking about that he was just obsessed with a lucrative 10th defense in America, and hence he may have estimated the opponent. But he dismissed that. He said, look, he was thinking about it, but it wasn't the predominant issue over the fight. The fight itself, he was obviously surprised about Corrales' speed, specifically, but also his physicality, his strength as well on the inside. So for me, he's really talking about how he's watched the fight so many times, and he's going to try and come with a new approach. He's talking about more of a cagey fight where he's going to come up a better guard, better defense. So that's the intriguing one where he's able to go back, soul search, at the age of 37 now. Can he address those deficiencies, or is just Corrales has that elusive southpaw puncher boxer style, which has his number. Very, very intriguing. But the one I like, Mike, is one of my favorite fighters in all of boxing, Ryuichi Taguchi, who's defending his 108 WBA title against an undefeated Venezuelan, Carlos Canizales. Taguchi is a fighter who's got everything, can fight on the front, back foot, very big for a 108 fighter. Really, really exciting. There's only a Nui, I think, who ended up beating him on points.
Yes.
Very, very good, very tough, but this is a real, real good fight. Canizales is a huge puncher, but I'm only worried that he's 5 feet and Taguchi is 5'6". So whether that height discrepancy will be the telling factor, I think it will be. But really, really good cards throughout the days.
Daniel and Jacob.
Ooh. I'm looking forward to two major fights. First of all, Corrales Uchiyama rematch. I want to see if this wasn't just a fluke by Corrales and just caught Uchiyama cold. Because if Uchiyama wins again, that's an interesting opponent for Lomachenko. Lomachenko will win, but it's an interesting opponent for Lomachenko.
I think I heard EJ make this note of Uchiyama that he fights like a smaller Vlad Klitschko. Correct me if I'm wrong, EJ.
Yeah, that's right. He fights like Klitschko.
That kind of style.
Exactly like
I think that kind of style would be on Raw for a Lomachenko.
That's what I mean. It'll be interesting. I still think he'll win.
It would be that style is not beating a Lomachenko. I don't think so.
No, that's what I mean. He still win, but it'll be interesting. Now, the fight I'm looking forward to, mainly because I'm already looking forward to summer and fall 2017, is Inoue Cotto. Because there should be legitimate, because there's probably going to be some American outlets really looking forward to this. Probably HBO, because this is going to be Inoue's coming out party, Mike.
Look. His last 2-3 fights on HBO, Chocolatito. They didn't mention. It wasn't an accident that they mentioned Inoue. It wasn't an accident that Inoue, after his previous fight, the following week, was in the building while Chocolatito's fight. It's not an accident that they got pictures of the two in the locker room.
Yep, that's what I mean. It'll be his official coming out party, because Like I think somebody mentioned before me, like the way he knew his contract is written, he has no choice but to fight the best. I think it's written you either have to face your mandatory or somebody that's ranked like in the top 2 of your division. That's a pretty hard contract to live by. So that just shows you going into it, and it's gonna probably propel into a major fight with Chocolatito in 2017. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to Corrales, and like I said, big ups to Japan. Who would have thought that the people that you would have seen in 1991 just be completely silent watching one of the biggest upsets in boxing history in Tyson Douglas now have pretty much they have their own version of Cinco de Mayo for boxing. This is their like Cinco de Mayo or Mexican Independence Day weekend. Style weekend. They're known for this. Remember this last week, the last time Rigondeaux fought this, he got knocked down and then beat a guy to a point where the hematoma was almost bigger than the guy's head.
Yeah. I mean, that welt on his head was the size of a grapefruit.
I thought it was another twin, like a twin finally declaring himself. Hey, I'm here.
Yeah, he had him looking like the Elephant Man afterwards.
Yeah. Now I want to hear Jacob. I want to see what his fight's going to be.
Your thoughts on all this, Jacob? We're talking to the multiple fight cards on the last 2 days of the year in Japan. What fights are you looking forward to the most? I'll mute your mic, Jacob.
Probably Inui the most because the potential matchup with Chocolatito. I'd like to see that fight. But also, I'm actually interested on an undercard fight of Mierta. He's like a middleweight. I think he was in the Olympics, and he's only, I think, 11-0 or whatnot. But he's ranked pretty high in multiple sanctioning bodies for middleweight, even though this fight is at super middleweight, I believe, or I think it's at super middleweight. But I'd like to see what he does, and see if he's a potential opponent for Golovkin or whoever Jacobs at middleweight. But the Uchiyama fight too, I mean, we'll see if it was a fluke or not. But yeah, I mean, for me, I just want to see good fights and good boxing. So they seem to do a good job over there in the East around this time. So it's a big thing for them.
And I think we're going to shut the show down on that note. I'm going to go around the hangout here around the panel. Starting with you, EJ Boxing Live. One of my UK boxing brothers. For folks who want to talk the sweet science, folks who want to talk basketball, folks who want to talk anything, let the folks know where they can find you and talk about the fact that you're in the gym working the pads with the young fellas now.
Yeah, EJ Boxing Live in association with IQ Boxing and Needham Boxing Club. Hopefully get more sponsors coming in, and working with young amateurs, and I'll be working with some pros turning over next year. So I'll keep you posted on some of these guys. You got Lights Out, Dennis Mahoney. You've got the Bayface Assassin. What's his name again? Plumedy, and we got 9. Look out for 9 Lives, yeah. Vasi, look out for 9 Lives, Vasi boy. Vasi's one of them guys, exciting fight. So anyway, look out for them. And obviously the new year, looking to cover the fights over there. New Year hangout. Like I said, you're all welcome. You catch me EJ Boxer Live on Twitter and Instagram. And yeah, man, it's great. Been a great year. I'm surprised, Michael, we haven't done year in review of people's favorite fighter of the year and stuff like that. But I guess we'll probably do that at some point. Yeah, man. So that's where you can catch me.
I see Guts is left. If you want to follow him, just go to Corruption and Boxing on G Plus and YouTube. You can find him there. Daniel Carpio of the Inscriber for folks who want to talk boxing or basketball, specifically in Miami Heat. Let the folks know where they can find you. Are you there, Daniel?
Sorry, I think somebody was texting me. Sorry about that. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Ruckus99. Like I said, I write for the Israel magazine, and I'm luckily it's the weekend to do it, to do a full recap of the year. It's been a pretty mixed year from what I can say. Like, we had some highs, we had some lows, but we're gonna look forward to 2017 because we may see a change in the guard at heavyweight. We may see the fight that everybody wants to see at middleweight. And we might see finally the little guys get the super fight treatment that they've been missing for almost a generation now.
And lastly, Jacob Rivera of Jab Hook Boxing, for folks who want to talk the sweet science, let the folks know where they can find you.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me on the show, Mike. Excellent show, excellent year of boxing. So, people support the show. It's a good show. We got a good panel, and people know their stuff. And just a shout out to Daniel. Thank you for having me on your show this last week. And to Dilltown, he's putting out some good stuff on YouTube, so give him a follow. But yeah, I can be found at JRATM23 or at jabbookboxing.com. We're actually doing year-end wrap-up that Daniel just talked about. And then we'll also do an update to the pound-for-pound list, and also my 10 fights that I want to see in 2017. So to speak on what Daniel said earlier, the other thing I want to add is hopefully we'll see a resurgence in women's boxing in 2017.
Indeed. And I know I got your questionnaire. I'm going to give it to you by the end of the year. You send me a questionnaire for Jab Hook Boxing. I know it's been a minute. Now that
no worries, man.
I got some days off coming up. I will get it to you by the end of the year.
Whenever you can, man. Whenever you can.
I apologize. For folks who want to talk
no apologies needed.
Boxing with me, music or anything else, you know what it is. Brother JR76 on Twitter. Brother JR at Brother JR76 on Twitter, as I stated earlier in the show. If you want to find out all things about the Pound for Pound Boxing Report, please go to the blog page, P4P Boxing Report.wordpress.com. Look to the right of the page. You can find links to our pages on G+, on YouTube, on Tumblr. You can also find links to where to listen to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Player.fm, Google Play Music, and Stitcher Radio. Next week, I said last week that this was going to be the end of the year wrap up. I apologize. It was not, because all the Hopkins stuff and WBC convention and Povetkin and that bullshit had to get that out the way. But next week, our end of the year show, our 2016 wrap up, we'll talk about fight of the year, fighter of the year, prospect of the year, the highs and lows. What do you want to see in 2017? Your predictions for 2017. And you mentioned Chocolatito. I got a prediction on Chocolatito Gonzalez on next week's show that may upset some folks. But anyway, it is what it is. 2016 year-end recap wrap-up next week. So for EJ Boxing Live, for Gus from Corruption in Boxing, for Scorsese, who joined us, if you want to check him out, Low Place, hashtag MLPF on G+ and YouTube, at My Low Place on Twitter. For Jacob Rivera of Jab Hook Boxing, for Daniel Carpenter of The Inscriber, I'm your host, Michael. This has been episode 151 of the Pound for Pound Boxing Report. We will see you next week, folks. Year-end wrap up, baby. Everybody have a good evening. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.